Okay, so this is going to be a really fun video to do because I'm going to walk you through a real live case story about Hill Country Chocolate and how we really work to be found on things like ChatGPT and Perplexity. The world is rapidly changing, and the blog post that we recently published is going to talk about this in great detail. But the days of traditional search engine optimization, where you could just focus on keywords, those days are gone. They're gone for a lot of reasons. Number one, people are just want answers, and they're going into systems where they can just type in a question and they can get an answer. You can sort of blame this on Google. They started that People Also Asked Questions series many, many years ago. And people like it. So when you ask a question, you don't get the answer. You may see the question that you could ask a different way. You click on it and you get the answer there. People go to Google for answers. That's the way it's always been. But with AI, often that answer can be served up to you, just a simple response or a simple answer. And people are getting addicted to it. And that's going to drive the way that people are going to find your business. Now, I'm going to tell you something up front. It's a little bit scary because, as you know, there's a lot of world's experts on SEO, and I'm not one of them. But I can say this, for small businesses and particularly newer brands, man, is this a great opportunity because nobody really understands exactly how these rules are going to play out. But we've got some pretty basic ideas. In the blog post, I go through some of those, which is to be very clear in answering your question, answer search intent up front. Number two, make sure that when you put things on your website that it's structured the right way. I mean, historically, you could sort of get away with putting a blog on a website and Google would figure out a way to scrape it. You do need to structure your data easy. Make it easy for something like ChatGPT to digest it so that they can serve it to other people. Just make it easy. The third thing is that rely on other sources. So where in the past you might have to drive all of your SEO just from your website, you'd have to write blogs, fill it with content, and of course that resulted in a lot of garbage content on many people's websites. But today you're better off playing the game on multiple different platforms, Instagram, Pinterest, all kinds of different places, rather than just your website and just your blog. And that also includes playing in the world of press releases. Now, last fall, we made a lot of updates at Rocket Tools to be able to publish press releases because in the history of this, it's only been available to big companies. And often it was very expensive, $1,000, $2,000. Certainly, you can go on the internet and you can find a $99 press release. But I'm going to tell you up front that many of those press releases don't have do follow links. They're not very high quality. We wanted to create a system that had really high quality do follow links, but it wasn't about backlinks. I think backlinks are important. So I'm not abandoning traditional search. I'm not telling you to drop all your SEO stuff. I'm just telling you to open your eyes about this new world of generative search and understand that you can sort of play in both worlds, SEO and GEO. So one of the ways to do that is to do things like publish press releases. Let's go to my desktop. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So here we published a press release from Hill Country Chocolate, and we did this on Rocket Tools, and we did it for a fraction of what it historically would have cost. So rather than, publishing a press release once every couple of years, I'm encouraging clients to consider publishing press releases pretty frequently so that you can start to build that kind of story that's going on. We published a press release on our Texas Crispy Pecans. So we've started a brand new product there at Hill Country Chocolate where we're doing a long roasted pecans, like over an hour and 40 minutes. These pecans are just delicious. They really just snap almost like chips, and they're just the perfect kind of pecan for use in confections, but also just munching as well. So we created this press release and we published it, and here's sort of what happened. And I'll just going to show you a little bit of the results. So this is a report, and this will kind of show you where that press release went. It went to Business Insider, AP, Associated Press. If we go up here at the top a little bit, I think you'll see some results. We had 321 placements on the press release. Don't buy into this 200 million potential reach. Of course, that's how many people log into these areas. But the big thing is the idea that we had 321 people publish our press release. These are do follow links. So these are legitimate websites that have legitimate URLs and links that can be scraped by something like ChatGPT or an OpenAI engine. And if you look, we even had it in 8 podcasts. Now, why is that important? Well, remember what I told you. Being across multiple platforms can be very useful. So here's some examples. Business Insider, AP. I mean, some of these are, Apple, Yahoo Finance, published it. Some of them, like the Vancouver Sun, you might think, well, how important is that going to be for sales for Hill Country Chocolate? Because we don't even sell things in Canada. Well, it's important because ChatGPT reads content in Canada. So it's still very, very important. So we had great results in the press release. It was able to be picked up. We passed all of the kind of safety parameters that you have to pass in putting out a press release. So let's go and see what happened. So this is what's really kind of fun. So I'm going to go to Google, and I just typed in a Google search, where do I get crispy Texas pecans? And I'm going to show you the frustrating part of Google is that if you go through these search results, so first of all, this is sponsored, and it's going to be something from Pecan Shop, great people, another sponsor result, then something called activated native Texas pecans, which doesn't say anything about crispy pecans, probably an ad. Here some people also ask questions. Nothing mentions anything about my search, which is where do I get crispy Texas pecans. Here's something else on royalty pecans. Let's keep going. Killer pecans. Nothing about crispy, right? There's an Amazon. Amazon's found everywhere. Another pecan shop thing. Wait a minute. Here we start to get crispy. We're probably at least 2/3 of the way down the page. And I'm just going to cut to the chase and tell you that Hill Country Chocolate, we don't make this page. Not at all with that search. Now, what gets frustrating as a business owner is if I make a little bit of a change in the search result. Let's go to the next tab. Where do I get Texas crispy pecans? Okay. Well, again, sponsor results here at the top, and there's the art of the pecan again, and there's some image pictures, but look, boom, we made it here. We made a subtle change in the way the question was asked, and all of a sudden we can find our results. Now, are we in the top 3? No, but those are sponsor results anyway. But when you start to look at the organic results, we're in the top 2. So I'm actually pretty good with that. But still, frustrating for users, right? So if somebody really wanted to understand what a crispy pecan was, they're not going to be able to really find it. They're going to see here's a Fredericksburg, there's Milliken, a great family. Our ad didn't even make the page, but still organically we made this search. So I'm actually pretty happy about that. Now, remember, I set out on this journey to see if we could optimize for generative search. Okay, so let's just see if Google will do it. So here is Gemini Advanced, and I asked the same question, where do I get Texas crispy pecans, right? This time I got Pecan Shop, and again, they do mention the word crispy. Killer does not, Art of Pecan does not, Milliken, even though they're an amazing family, they do mention the word crispy pecans at home, how to make your crispy pecans. I'm going to brag on them. They are fantastic people, and I'm definitely going to highlight them, the fact that they made this Gemini search. But we didn't, actually. We didn't make this search. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. What if we go to something like ChatGPT? Where do I get Texas crispy pecans? Look what happened. You can purchase Texas crispy pecans from Hill Country Chocolate, our artisanal chocolate maker based in Fredericksburg, Texas. These pecans are long roasted for over 90 minutes. After a brief sugar glaze, resulting in a perfect crunch and rich flavor, they're sourced directly from San Saba, known for producing some of the finest pecans. You can order them online through Hill Country Chocolate's website. Now, what's very interesting, that's not from our website. That's from newsfilecorp.com. That's from one of the sources that published our press release. Okay, that's one of the sources. If we click all of these sources, you're going to see this is Newsfile Corp. There's another source from visitfredericksburgtexas.com. Here's another source from Business Insider. So again, a big reputable publisher. And the other thing I'm going to point out here is, look, Instagram. 2 posts from Instagram, which is the idea that you need to be on multiple platforms, not just one. So again, this is a really good example of where we didn't get found on Google. It was really tough, to fight for those search engine results. And, even Gemini struggled a little bit, although we made the list there. And if you structured your question just the right way, we got found in the top 2. And I didn't show you, but if we ran an ad, we can be found as well. But here's a really good example where ChatGPT showed us right off the bat. So really pretty cool. Now, Perplexity is one of my favorite engines. Let's try that one. So where do I get Texas crispy pecans? And guess what? We made it to a Perplexity search too. When you look at the sources for this, you're going to find the same sort of thing. You're going to go over here and you're going to see Instagram and all kinds of other sources. So the take-home message from here is playing in this GEO or Generative Engine Optimization game can be incredibly fun for your business and incredibly valuable. It is sort of low-hanging fruit right now. Nobody knows exactly how the special techniques are going to be to make this work. But it is clear that you still need to focus on SEO, but bring in more of those simple things. Answer the questions, structure your content, play on multiple different platforms. Consider creative things like press releases to help grow your business. If you have any questions, reach out. I'd love to get on a call and talk about this kind of information, and I look forward to seeing you soon.